What if I told you that the Black Panther is a movie that you will see without seeing?
You look around, what do you see? Businessmen, teachers, lawyers, carpenters, the very minds of the people we are trying to save. But until we do, these people are still a part of that system, and that makes them our enemy. You have to understand, most of these people are not ready to be unplugged. And many of them are so inert, so hopelessly dependent on the system, that they will fight to protect it. Were you listening to me, Neo? Or were you looking at the woman in the red dress? I was. Look again. Read it. This isn't the Matrix.
No. It's another training program designed to teach you one thing. If you are not one of us, you are one of them.
Here's an example of what I'm talking about.
Soon, there will only be the conquered and the conquerors.
Did you catch that? There were two voices speaking. When one voice mentions the conquered, they show two people, T'Challa and Okoye. Okoye does a complete 180. However, T'Challa walks in one direction. When he mentions the conqueror, they show Claw. Claw does a complete 180 from one side to the other. Then they show what appears to be the back of T'Challa, just after Claw fires his weapon, in a downward angle. Then they show Okoye saying, "Wakanda forever." Those are tricks called illusions, an expression designed to call something to mind without mentioning it explicitly. The words that were used were chosen very carefully. Wakanda forever is much worse, not because Wakanda sounds like the words walk under, but because there are two family members fighting. While they are fighting, they are falling at the same time. Another reason that Wakanda forever is worse is because of two things. The Algonquin language, which is the original language in the Americas.
Black Panther belongs to the Algonquin group. Quite savage, you know. Let's go get him.
And the Sanskrit language, the ancient language of the place now called India, thanks to the East India Company. The Algonquin word for slave is Awakan. The Sanskrit word for slave is dasa. When you put those two words together, you have Awakan dasa. Awakan dasa. Now, that is not Wakanda, but it is a mashup of the words, and it's another trick involved. Using the word Wakanda from Awakan dasa, they took the A from Awakan, they took the Sa from Dasa, and made the word Asa. What is Asa? Asa is an ancient name for gum. Gum means to unite by a viscous substance. United means passive joined, made to agree. Awakan means captive slave. Dasa means slave. Considering that language is the gum that holds it all together, using this analogy, Wakanda forever means slaves that were made to agree. Let me show you what the people behind the scenes really look like.
We are the Borg. Lower your shields and surrender your ships. We will add your biological and technological distinctiveness to our own. Your culture will adapt to service us. Resistance is futile.
Tell me something. What do you know about Wakanda? It's a third world country. Textiles, shepherds, cool outfits, all front. Explorers have searched for it. Called it El Dorado. They looked for it in South America. But it was in Africa.
Except they are talking about the Americas. This particular site is named Vardzia. It's located in Georgia. But let's go to Africa for a minute. Because the way we were taught about Africa is full of misconceptions and illusions. An expression designed to call something to mind without mentioning it explicitly. The country now called Tunisia was first called Africa. This is a 1554 map of Africa made by Sebastian Munster. As you can see, Africa is a small country. It sits very close to its European neighbors. Here are the Google translations of the spelling. The countries in pink were known as the Barbary states. The European countries and the United States paid a tributary tax to those countries. If no tribute was paid, their ships and its cargo would be taken, and its people would be enslaved. Based on the history in this country, I'm sure they couldn't wait to get revenge on those Africans. Except the Indians, or so-called Indians that were in America, were already here and treated the colonizers very well and were not Africans. This bit of information will be from Wikipedia.
Before Tunisia, the territory's name was Africa,
which gave the present-day name of the continent Africa. The country Africa was replaced with the country Tunisia. Now Africa is a continent, not a country. Notice where the words Africa are. They're telling you something without telling you. Colonization of Africa. Between the 1870s and the 1900s, Africa faced European imperialist aggression, diplomatic pressures, military invasions, and an eventual conquest and colonization. The way Africa has been used is an illusion, an expression designed to call something to mind without mentioning it explicitly.
Tell me something. What do you know about Wakanda? It's a third world country. Textiles, shepherds, cool outfits. All front. Explorers have searched for it. Called it El Dorado. They looked for it in South America. But it was in Africa the whole time. It's in Africa the whole time. The whole time.
The ka is the spirit of a person, place, or thing.
I'm the only one who's seen it and made it out alive. I can see you. How much more are you hiding?
Hold up.
Yes, how much more are you hiding? This is the image of a jaguar priest from Bonampak, Mexico. The jaguar priest was part of a nation that existed long before any colonizers arrived in the Americas, and is the truth behind what the Black Panther is trying to portray. Let's look at the word hiding. hiding, withdrawment, a withholding as the hidings of God's face.
I have seen gods fly. I've seen men build weapons that I couldn't even imagine. I've seen aliens drop from the sky. Yeah. But I have never seen anything like this. How much more are you hiding?
Hold up.
They told us we came from Africa, but the fact is,
We are home.
we are already home.
Yet we lie.
Let's have some fun,
My son, it is your time.
I waited my entire life for this.
We gotta think they got it now, cause we own ya. Show me my respect.
What happens now determines what happens to the rest of the world.
The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will be live.
The fictional Black Panther actually represented a royal family of colonizers, a royal family that used a viscous substance known as language to conquer the Americas. Through alliances with warring tribal factions, they were able to secure policies of friendship. This led to them being recognized as a Holy Roman Empire over the Americas, as well as Europe, before their eventual fall to their former European servants. Now history teaches with a different timeline and a different image. We know it as cultural appropriation. However, the original image can still be found in the Larco Museum in Lima, Peru. But the statue out front of that museum represents an influence that may not be beneficial to the whole truth. Guess who helped George Washington and the European servants? The most hated people in the United States of America. The betrayed people.
The world's gonna start over.
This is an example of how children are being taught in school today. The first thing you are taught are fictions. Indians, they were savages. Manifest Destiny was God's plan for us to civilize the savage Indian. Of course, if you are intelligent, you might wonder what comes out of all that type of learning.
Still nigga. Still nigga. Burn it all!
My skin is black. My arms are long. My hair is woolly. My back is strong.
September 15, 1963, a devastating explosion in Birmingham, Alabama, rocked our entire nation to the core. And from the memory of the 4 little girls that were lost in its unimaginable tragedy came 4 women.
My name is Aunt Sarah.
Why do they hate so much? Their leaders taught it to them. What is an American?
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
America. This is from the British Museum website. This is an emblem of America.
The complexion of the Carolina Indians is black, not much different from that of the Ethiopians. Their hair is black and thick, and not very long, tied back behind the head like a small tail. As for the physique of the men, they have broad chests, strong arms, and legs and other parts of the body are well composed. They're broad in the face and have big black eyes. They have a sharp cunning and are agile and swift runners. Italian explorer Giovanni da Verrazzano, 1524.
This is what European explorers actually found in North America.
Far and away the most beautiful city on Earth. 5 times the size of London or Rome. Great towers and buildings rising from the water. 60,000 gleaming houses, and how spacious and how well built they were. Of beautiful stonework and cedarwood, and the wood of other sweet-scented trees. The many streets and boulevards of the city were so neat and well swept, despite the multitude of inhabitants, crisscrossed with a complex network of canals, like an enormous Venice, but also remarkable floating gardens that reminded of nowhere else on Earth.
While Europe was drinking water from its polluted city rivers, huge aqueducts transported America's water from fresh springs.
But what impressed most were the special merchant areas where timber and tiles and other building materials were bought and sold, as well as greengrocer streets where one could buy every sort of vegetable, fruits, honeys, nut paste and chocolates. Astonished by the personal cleanliness and hygiene of the colorfully dressed populace, and by their extravagant use of soaps, deodorants and breath sweeteners.
Most Europeans never bathed and kept clothes on at all times. The Pilgrim's Notes biographer D.i.y had a terrible smell. In fact, the story of the first settlers has been deliberately changed, notes author James Lowen, because the truth is so shameful. They actually settled hundreds of miles further south and stayed in America because the mission was a failure. Their real aim, reports historian Robert Beverly, was to find some gold and take it back to Europe.
They spent their days digging random holes in the ground, haplessly looking for gold instead of planting crops. They took some Indian prisoners and forced them to teach the colonists how to farm. The colonists offered the Indians a toast to eternal friendship, whereupon the chief, his family, advisors, and 200 followers dropped dead of poison. Soon they were starving and digging up putrid Indian corpses to eat.
And the meal with the natives wasn't quite the Thanksgiving shown on TV and in schoolbooks.
You can't handle the truth!
In mainstream history books, perhaps the most common description of American territory then is virgin land. The death of 100 million indigenous people in the, quote, American Holocaust, some from disease, but also vast numbers from a deliberate policy.
Before I show some of those policies, I'm going to use a little assistance with the help from Noah Webster, the father of American scholarship and education. I will describe some of these policies using the 1828 Webster's Dictionary. The chief component to all of the policies in America will be guile. Guile, craft, cunning, artifice, duplicity, deceit, usually in a bad sense, to wage by force, or guile, eternal war. By force,
or guile, eternal war.
The 1828 Webster's Dictionary describes the word American as follows. A native of America, originally applied to the Aboriginals or copper-colored races found here by the Europeans. but now apply to the descendants of Europeans born in America.
The word Negro, a native, or a descendant of the black race of men in Africa.
They started calling themselves American and started calling us Negro, Black, Colored, etc. However, none of those names are connected to a nation. Mind you, these are not all of the policies. These are just the ones that stood out to me at the time. So here are some of those policies.
1.
In 1816, the American Colonization Society decided to send free so-called blacks to Africa.
2.
Indian Removal Act of 1830, recorded in history as the Trail of Tears.
3.
Kill the Indian, Save the Man was the efforts to reclassify our race and write us out of history at every opportunity, and teach it in school as fact. And because Spain invaded the Americas, along with many other nations, the Native Americans look very different today. The Native Americans look like Spanish, or Chinese, or Italians, or even Caucasians now.
1 little, 2 little, 3 little Indians.
Of course, we look like those names that we were taught in school, and the 10 little Indians are now and the 10 little Indians have been changed to the 10 little niggers. Nigger, a dark-skinned person of any origin in early U.S., usually with reference to American Indians. Like most of the laws against the original inhabitants of America, they came from the Commonwealth of Virginia. Walter Plecker, a renowned racist, ran Virginia's Bureau of Vital Statistics. That also means he regulated the federal census. However, his claim to fame is pushing the renowned Racial Integrity Act, which made it illegal for people to claim other than black or white on their census. Public records in the Office of the Bureau of Vital Statistics and the State Library indicate that there does not exist today a descendant of the Virginia ancestors claiming to be an Indian who is unmixed with Negro blood. He wrote, in other words, Virginia was rid of Indians. Their trick was a simple one. If you were classified as Negro, then you were no longer an Indian in the eyes of their law. The guy was a real piece of work, and his job was to get rid of your heritage so they could claim it for themselves. Did you know that Alex Haley's Roots was a hoax?
They looked for it in South America, but it was in Africa.
Guile. Craft, cunning, artifice, duplicity, deceit, usually in a bad sense. To wage by force or guile eternal war.
Virtually none of Thanksgiving has an ounce of accuracy, notes the bestseller Lies My Teacher Told Me. The idea of Europe bringing civilization to the Americas simply flips truth on its head.
So it looks like we've been lied to on just about everything. And so the question becomes, what are they teaching us if it isn't a form of guile about ancestry, DNA?
You share maternal genetic ancestry with people from the Mendi tribe in Sierra Leone. Do you know anything about Sierra Leone or the Mendi people? No, nothing.
People have been waiting a lifetime for something like this. Now, this is just a tiny bit of information now.
But they take it as huge.
Right, because it's cracking open the door that was closed for centuries.
There's a place in Africa you could say that I'm from. A tribe. I am thrilled. It puts a name, a place, a location, a people. It opens up such possibilities. But the problem is, Sierra Leone wasn't the only answer Vi got. A company called Relative Genetics found a match to a single person in the Wobi tribe in the Ivory Coast. Different? Different. Now, I got all excited about that, and this is different? Now, how could that happen? Then a third company, Trace Genetics. Your particular sequence matches sequences reported among multiple Mendenka individuals in Senegal. What's up with this? And Family Tree DNA, the company that linked Vi with Marion in the first place, came up with a whole list of matches. Now, you've looked at several of these companies that are doing these tests.
Yes.
Do you think that they explain what you just explained to us?
No, I don't think any of them does as good a job of pointing out the limitations. But, businesses often don't go around telling you how weak their product is. Businesses often don't go around telling you how weak their product is.
We don't oversell. I mean, we just say, look, we provide a service. If you're interested in exploring a tiny bit of your DNA and trace its ancestry, we can do that.
When you say it's a tiny little amount,
it's less than 0.1%.
It's a less than point.
It's a less than point. It's a less than point.
Less, not so much.
when you say it's a tiny little amount,
it's less than 0.1%.
That's pretty teeny.
Yeah, but for people who know nothing about any of them, I think it's very important.
You said less than 0.1%. So technically, if there is no accuracy in the DNA test at all, and the whole thing is made up, he would not be lying. That is called double talk or an allusion to something that was only mentioned, but not stated as an exact answer to the question that was asked. It's an imaginary eternal war with a country that doesn't exist anymore. And America was never that country. Notice where the words Africa are. They're telling you something without telling you.
Burn it off!
The truth is always in your face, but oftentimes it's so close that you don't see it. And the children are the first to be influenced by it. These are the subtle perversions of art. These subtle influences that the parents are normally unaware of. Do you know what your children are watching? What are they influencing the children to become? Who created those influences? Who created our history? Its influence or its narrative?
Boom, 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 gotta get that. Boom, 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 gotta get that. Boom, 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 gotta get that. Boom, boom, boom. Spider-Man, Spider-Man, does whatever Spider-Man.
This next part may be the most important thing I've said on this whole entire video, and it describes the simple design of the web of deception. Webster, Saxon, a woman weaver. Saxon, a woman weaver. Webster, Saxon, a woman weaver. Language has been used against us as a form of guile. If you're interested in knowing more, here are a few words to look up if you desire. I think you might find them interesting. When you go to church, you pray. When they make movies for you to watch or create things for you to learn, that's how they pray. Whatever they've been praying for, it does not benefit you at all. Prayer and worship, a solemn address to the Supreme Being. You'll never guess who the Supreme Being is. If you are using the Bible as your guide, if you guess Jesus, you would be wrong. Because although the colonists are said to have arrived in 1492, Jesus did not arrive until 1630. Before that, he was called Jesus. The J was a recent invention in those times, and wasn't used in the Bible until 1630. Why did they invent the J? If you're looking for Jesus outside of yourself, then you're looking in the wrong place. In 2 Corinthians 13, verse 5 through 6, it says, "Examine yourselves whether ye be in faith. Prove your own selves. Know ye not your own selves, how that Jesus Christ is in you, except ye be reprobates. But I trust that ye shall know that we are not reprobates." What is faith? The definition for faith is belief, the assent of the mind to truth of what is declared by another, resting on his authority and veracity without other evidence. We've been clowned because they know who we are, and they pray that you don't know. If someone swears to you that they are W. height, which spells white, or that you are B. black, which spells black, and you accept it, then you have just confirmed what they swear to be true, and it is considered an oath. So now you should ask yourself, what am I taking an oath to, and why? B. That this word is the Shemitic. Used as a prefix is certain, not only from its general applications, but from its use in particular phrases.
Particularly in its use before the name of the Supreme Being in swearing.
You are the only one that they call black.
B.
Black.
Black. W.
Height.
White.
And that is a solemn address. Can your innocence accept the one God that already exists inside of you? Or would you rather fall to your own destruction instead of accepting the truth?
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Having curiosity for a habitual liar has not worked in our best interests. We are the original Americans, the original nation of tribes that existed here in America, no different from the ancestor that modeled for the emblem of America. Although this picture of Diana Fletcher looks almost exactly like the first picture of the emblem of America, they want you to believe that they are totally different races. They want you to believe that she is a descendant from an African slave because the Constitution does not allow for descendants of African slaves to be citizens in America. And while I'm keeping it 100, they just want your land with your continued acceptance of their lives. And this is why the narrative keeps getting changed when it comes to so-called black people in America. Diana Fletcher, 1838, is thought to be the daughter of an enslaved African who ran away to seek freedom in Florida, a Seminole woman who died on the Trail of Tears, the forced relocation of American Indians to Oklahoma. Why is she thought to be the daughter of an enslaved African? The United States of America has invested so much into the lie that every time anyone that sees you as being black, it will automatically be thought that you are an African descendant or slaves descended from a free cow. The ancient aliens, what happened to the Maya? Yeah, what happened to those people that were already here that are still here? What happened? I will attempt to show you what happened to those Mayans real quick like.
If this court finds that Mr. Kringle is not who he says he is, then I would ask the court to judge which is worse, a lie that draws a smile, or a truth that draws a tear?
I would ask the court to judge which is worse, a lie that draws a smile. I would ask the court to judge which is worse, a lie that draws a smile. I would ask the court to judge which is worse, a lie that draws a smile.
Or a truth that draws a tear?
Or a truth that draws a tear? Or a truth that draws a tear?
It is time that we control our own narrative with the truth instead of their lies. But that will cause everything to change for you, especially your perceptions about what truth is.
Straight buck wild, let me see your hands. What we gonna do? Do it to death. What we gonna do? Gonna do it to death. What we gonna do? Do it to death. What we gonna do? Do it to death. Yeah. Pen or a needle make you wobble or weeble. Niggas is feeble. Back in the day, I used to get money illegal. Get some ass, cop a room down in the legal. Hit you with so much drama, make niggas always wait for the sequel. Yo, there ain't no equal on how we be rapping for the people. Yo, there really ain't no equal. Ask Hillary, met her down on Flatbush and Tillery. She killing me, got me crazy while and acting straight grizzly. We never made it too far together. I left her standing on Franklin and Willoughby. Another mystical, frightening and enlightening at the same time. Get the goods and price them and doing the heist again. You thinking we would be nice again? We on a mission, we don't need nothing. You chitter chatter too much. I'ma split a splatter, you blitter bladder, make you spill out your gun.
If this court finds that Mr. Kringle is not who he says he is, then I would ask the court to judge which is worse, a lie that draws a smile, or a truth that draws a tear.
If you answer all the questions the way they want you to, then you graduate with honors. Congratulations.
I'ma burn it all.
Can you feel it? Nothing can save you, for this is the season of catching the vapors. And since I got
You're traveling through another dimension. A dimension not only of sight and sound, but of mind. A journey into a wondrous land whose boundaries are that of imagination. Your next stop, the Twilight Zone.